right. They aren't just trying to distract you, though. The left is also trying to rewrite history on the floor of the U.S. Senate, no less.
The United States didn't inherit slavery from anybody. We created it. It got created by the Virginia General Assembly and the legislatures of other states. It got created by the court systems in colonial America and since that enforced fugitive slave laws. We created it. And we created it and maintained it over centuries.
Virginia's finest. Tell that to the ancient Romans and Egyptians, Tim. Joining me now is Niger Innis, civil rights leader and CEO of the Congress of Racial Equality. Niger, Senator Kane clearly borrowing from the New York Times pseudo-history 1619 project, something so thoroughly discredited, it's made its way into the Senate floor.
It's outrageous. I mean, it's factually untrue. The fact of the matter is that Africans would not have been as successfully taken from their homeland without the cooperation of, unfortunately, other Africans and Arabs, for that matter, that traded slaves to Europeans, taught the Europeans about that black gold called African slaves, and imported them to the United States and the Caribbean and South America.
Niger, you're watching, and you were so eloquent last week and discussing Black Lives Matter and what a potent force, very quickly, it's become in American politics. Forget American culture, but just American politics. What are you thinking a week later since your last appearance, and how many companies are sending multi-million-dollar checks and coming up with a lot of symbolic gestures to try to placate and satisfy the BLM movement?
I think it's very, very sad because it reminds me of, various eras, be it the Rodney King riots, be it the riots in Harlem and Watts and all across the country in the late 60s, where, corporations and government seeks to pour money as quickly as they possibly can to deal with their own guilt, but not really to get to those individuals in the minority community or the poor white community, for that matter, that would be really effective. I think it is most unfortunate, and when you dig a little deeper, I mean, again, I did last week and I will do here, I separate the legitimate anger and frustration of those rank and file protesters in the street from the real agenda of Black Lives Matter. But I don't think these corporations, I don't think these politicians that are bending over backwards give a darn. They want to assuage their guilt. They want to be able to say, oh, well, I gave to Black Lives Matter. Yeah. But in reality, they're just going to walk right back to their offices and to their corporate headquarters and not give a darn about what's really going on in the minority community. Ironically, the one who's labeled a racist, that is the President of the United States, has done such a great deal before the economic shutdown, record growth in the Black and the Hispanic community for the entire country, real wage growth, real entrepreneurial opportunity. Oh, yeah, actually, during the Obama-Biden years, there was a year when more small businesses were closing than opening. Well, that is completely turned around, or had turned around before this artificial
and we got to get it. We got to get it back. But speaking of correcting history, Niger, I got to get you on this. This is a University of Pennsylvania professor. Her name is Dorothy Roberts. This is what she had to say about the history of policing. Watch.
It would go all the way back to the very origins of the police, which are enslaved patrols that were designed to catch runaway enslaved people and maintain order on plantations. It's really important to understand why we have an armed police force that engages in so many acts of routine violence.
Niger, reaction to that?
I mean, it's an inversion, a warping of real history. But you know what? I don't blame these progressives, and particularly progressives that call themselves Democrats. Because if you look and examine the real history, not the phony history these folk are pushing and Kane is pushing, but the real history, what you'll find is that the Democratic Party is a party of slavery and segregation, and the Republican Party was the party of liberation.
Yeah, the abolitionist party. That's how it began, when the Whigs collapsed. All right, Niger, thanks so much. Up next, Google's runaway power. We'll guess